Joe Mullings from 160 Studios, and today I've got the leadership team of Quantum Surgical on board. And gentlemen, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Joe.
Hello, Joe.
Our pleasure.
Joining me from France, I believe, although Noah, I think you're in Chicago, I can tell by the backdrop, and you and I are UD alumnus, so we can talk about that later.
Go Flyers.
But BERTIN is in, Fernand, Lucien, and Noah. So, gentlemen, I have been watching closely the Quantum Epion platform. BERTIN, would you bring us in and explain to me a little bit about the company and the powerful background that you and your team have coming out of robotics, ortho, spine, and even soft tissue, going back to the old computer motion days?
Sure. So my name is BERTIN NAHUM. I am the CEO and co-founder of Quantum Surgical, which is basically the fruit of over 25 years of experience in introducing image-guided medical devices, robotic devices, into the market. Our goal at Quantum Surgical is to leverage our platform, Epion, we will talk about that later, I'm sure, to democratize so-called minimally invasive liver cancer treatment. In order to do that, we want to basically try to do what we've done very successfully, I think, previously in the previous company that I created, I founded, in other fields of surgery, which were brain, spine, and knee surgery.
So the Epion platform is interesting, and I don't know who would jump in on this, perhaps Fernand yourself, but from what I understand, plan, target, deliver an ablation, and then a confirmation. And especially, we've picked our first therapy in oncology and liver cancer in particular. So please share with the audience the uniqueness of this versus the current standard of care.
Yeah, true. Well, I think in the first place, Epion is an end-to-end solution that helps the physician execute a complex procedure that has substantial benefits for the patient. And we as a team have always been focused on bringing value to all the stakeholders in the healthcare space. And we are convinced that robotics substantially helps in democratizing or broadening the access to those minimally invasive procedures. We have selected to go into ablation because it's a proven treatment to cure early diagnosed tumors in the liver.
So, Noah, you're on the marketing commercial side of things. I always ask this question. I think I'm up to 132 is the count of robotic companies out in the industry. So why another robotic company? Why Quantum? And how are we addressing this market? I understand you got CE mark in August of 21. Congratulations, gentlemen. But what are we looking at from a market entry, and what are the barriers and the items that you're focusing on as we bring this technology to the game?
Yeah, great question. And this is part of what drew me to Quantum Surgical, not just the team and the technology, but you're right. Robotics is absolutely something that has gotten a position in the market, not just from a surgical standpoint, which we know a lot of those in recent developments, but also from a new category, really, which I believe we're creating. So when I was leading up the U.S. sales team for Covidien with interventional oncology, I saw a specialty in interventional radiology that really struggled with a lot of things to deliver what is, and Fernand talked about this, a curative therapy for early diagnosis of a really devastating disease in liver cancer. So they struggled with the imaging. They struggled with the real-time imaging of placing a needle freehand into a target in a moving space with critical structures surrounding it, as well as a lot of, so after you do the ablation is actually confirming what you just did. So what I see in Epion is the all-in-one solution that we can really impact this devastating disease with.
Mm. Lucien, as the CTO and the tech lead on this, and you and I have gone back and forth on LinkedIn many times, appreciating the surgical robotic world and the engineering that goes into that. What are the major freehand sort of solutions that take place in the market today that you have solved or the team has solved with the Epion platform? And what should the viewer think about? Is this a single needle? entry? Are there multiple needles on multiple planes? So take me through the technical challenges that you and the team addressed.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because as a startup, first we want to focus on overcoming these challenges prior to defining what is the technology. So we've been interviewing more than 100 of physicians practicing in interventional oncology. And what are the pain points that we've been hearing so far is first, they have a challenge in seeing the tumor in the images. So sometimes the tumor is not really visible in the image, so it gets difficult. Sometimes there is a metastasis that disappear following a chemotherapy, so that the first pain point really locate the tumor in the images. Then you have the targeting, which is a challenging freehand technique, and that has been to perform under image guidance, but it's a lot of guesswork, it's a lot of manual skills, experience that requires training. And this is when you place a single needle. And as you said, when you want to treat larger tumors, and that shifts from curative to palliative treatments, you have to place multiple probes. Or if you have to target a tumor that is close to a critical structure, you have a great technology that is irreversible electroporation, but it requires a lot of needles that be placed into the tumor with the constraints such as spacing. All the needles should be parallel. So it gets very, very tricky to perform those kind of procedures. Another pain point is understanding what's going to be the actual ablation zone at the end, because it depends on each manufacturer. So the physician has to get all this information in his mental space, and it's difficult. And the last one that Noah talks about is confirming the ablation. So when you look at the image, you get, after the ablation, it's not really easy to understand how much of the tumor has been covered. Do I have my 5 millimeter margin to ensure that there will be no local tumor progression? And so those are the 5 pain points that we started to tackle and understand, and to deliver a solution with what we believe is a unique blend of technologies that answer all of these challenges today in interventional oncology.
So on the Epion platform, I know we've got a robot. Do we also have an imaging component that we use our imaging technology, or is this an open architecture that is able to use other organizations' imaging technology and import it into the platform for pre-planning, intraoperative guidance, and then post-confirmation? So I don't know who would want to answer that one.
Yeah, I'll answer that one. So basically, we come to the market with an open platform, because we don't want to disrupt what people are doing today. We know it's a specific field, interventional oncology and percutaneous ablation, where there is not much market penetration for robotics. So there is some education, and there is some easy to use device to provide to enable to transition from freehand to robotics. And it's an open platform. It's compatible with any kind of CT imaging system that they are using today. It's compatible with any kind of ablation modality that they are using today. It can be radiofrequency, microwave, cryotherapy. So we do not change their current workflow, their current practice, and their current equipment. And you're right, at the core of the Epion system, there is robotics, but it leverages much more than that. It's medical imaging and all the image fusion, advanced image processing, and later on artificial intelligence that will enable to really get insights from the data they have on pre, intra, and post-operative information. It also leverages what we call the navigation technology, which is specific to our product, and which basically is the GPS that locates all the instruments in the operating field. And at the end, there is also the patient respiratory monitoring module that is a specific technology to address the issue of patient breathing during the intervention. Because in the ortho space, you fix things on the bone and you operate on the bone, which is a rigid structure. And in the liver space, everything is moving with the breathing. The liver moves up and down, and you have to figure out where is your lesion in the liver in regard to the patient breathing. So that's why we deliver this respiratory monitoring technology inside the platform.
Bertin and Fernand, as you thought about putting this organization together, when you go down the road of surgical robotics, one of the challenges is, where do I plant that flag? Because this is a big commitment when you decide to make a robotic platform. It's not easy to pivot once you pick an architecture, you pick a disease state, you pick a clinician and who you're going to go after. And then, of course, you selected the team. So, gentlemen, share with me, what did you think about when you started this organization, about how would you select your team, and where would you put the flag in the ground from a platform and an architect decision-making process? So, Bertin, you want to take us in first, and then Fernand, I'd love to hear you on that.
Yes, please. So I think it's a very good question. One of the very first thing, one of the key, aspect is the people. People make organization. And one of the things that I am very proud of is we were able to gather a team of experts. We've been working together for almost over 10 to 15 years, 20 years in some cases, as it is the case with Fernand. And that is one of the key aspects of our company. And the people, the experts that we've been working with for such a long time happens to be located in France and even in south of France, close to Montpellier. So I think it was obvious for us to start the venture here. But then again, as we did it in the past, Quantum Surgical is a very international company. In our previous venture, we ended up having more than almost 3/4 of our revenue that was generated in the US. We also generated quite an important part of our revenue in Asia, in China. So we already know how to deal with international market. But I think for the very early stage of the company, being able to gather some very strong experts in different domains was something very important.
Fernand, what were you thinking about as you birthed the company and assembled the team, especially as lead of operations and oversight there?
Well, I think that the key factor here is that we are capitalizing on our prior experience. We as a team have been involved in surgical robotics for it's ranging between 15 and 25 years, depending to who you talk to. When we decided to start Quantum, basically we looked back at what we had lived as a team in the past, and we identified in the first place the applications where robotics can bring value to patients, to physicians, to healthcare institutions. And then, going forward, we also leveraged our experience in terms of, how we wanted to engineer the solution and then how we wanted to go into the market with the solution. So it's basically, let's say, capitalizing on that experience that we have in the past and applied this time to a new field for us. It's a field that we believe represents a huge opportunity, because when we look at surgical robotics in general, we see that it's booming in areas such as orthopedics, laparoscopic surgery, spine surgery, brain surgery, but it's still a very underpopulated space in terms of robotics when I look at interventional radiology. So we definitely believe that on the one hand, you have the ingredients to be successful there, because you have complex procedures that benefit the patient because they are minimally invasive. On the other hand, you have a very large underserved patient population. So when you put all that together and you combine that with robotics, we believe that that could be a major success. And that's why we decided to seize this opportunity.
So Noah, I think Bertin and Fernand and Lucien have the easiest job out of all four of you. You now got the responsibility of helping launch a robot in the U.S. in a market right now that is very large. Who's your competition? With the changing centers of care going on right now in the healthcare industry, moving away from hospitals to focus factories, ASCs, and specialty practices. What are you thinking about when you launch a product like this in the US? I know we're still waiting to go through FDA pathway with CE mark in place already. So what are you thinking about? And without releasing the proprietary playbook, give me a sense of how we get it there.
Yeah, and a lot to unpack there, but great questions. And you identify what is a very complicated market, but it's one that's ripe with innovation. So as Lucien, I think, did a nice job explaining, and from my interventional oncology background, what I saw is there's a lot of solutions that are floating out there that have been doing a good job of attacking maybe one piece of the problem. What I believe Epion is doing is it's really an all-in-one solution that gets you through each stage of that pathway. And that's really what we're creating here, in my belief, is a new platform and a new space in robotics. So as I look to build my commercial team, what I'm going to focus on is, yes, we're going to move towards FDA approval. And then when we go to launch, this isn't going to be a full launch. This is going to be a limited customer release that we're working through. We're going to partner with the best institutions as it relates to ablation and liver cancer in general. We're also going to collaborate with them, one, to drive the data set that we need clinically, but also so that as a startup, you have the advantage of iterating quickly. Coming from a lot of these big strategics, they don't always move as quickly as what we can nimbly do as a startup. So I'm really excited about going into this space. In terms of competition, there's other solutions that are floating out there, but I believe it is such a big market, as Fernand just described. Only 10% of these patients who are eligible for this procedure are getting it, and that's a perfect spot to throw in a solution like this that enables more physicians to do this, so that the patients can be impacted by a therapy like this.
It would seem like there's a lot of tribal knowledge and experience required in the freehand technique. As complex of a nature as it is when you're trying to get to a tumor and ablate it. And so it looks like a platform like this, and I think the word is overused, but really does democratize and brings down the necessary cognitive and physical skills that you need to log in to get to that level of expertise. We now augment that with pre-planning, intraoperative augmentation, and sort of advisement, and then confirmation on the back end. With all that leads to better outcomes for the patient.
It does, and one more thing I'll add: there is a technical experience that is needed for this, and many of the bigger liver cancer centers have an element of an ablation program going on. But I believe that even the best ablationists out there, and this goes both surgically as well as interventional radiology, because there's a great majority of ablations that are being done surgically, and there'll be an ultrasound solution that we come with as well. But in terms of the CT guidance and in terms of interventional radiology, what I believe is even the most technically sound experts in the field can benefit from a solution like this, because it's going to be getting them into the more complex procedures, those that are high up in the dome of the liver and more technically challenging for them. This is going to enable them to do more, in my belief.
So Bertrand, when do we get to see the platform? Where do we get to see the platform? And when do we get it on the turf here in the United States?
So we have FDA clearance, which is on our way right now, and we are expecting to have gone past this very important step first half of next year, 2022. And as Noah mentioned before, we are going through a limited launch, which means that we are currently already talking with different institutions, different physicians, top physicians, so-called KOL. And basically the idea is to basically control the first installation and learn from those first installation in order to then go to a second level where we will try to have more customers in the US.
And we've got a big show coming up in Chicago just around the corner. Will we be able to get a peek at that? No, I'm going to throw that at the commercial guy. Here's your chance for the commercial.
Yeah, so we're really excited to be having Epion at the RSNA here coming up in Chicago. It's obviously right after the Thanksgiving holiday, but the biggest radiology show there is, been going on for many, many years, always in Chicago. So we're excited to meet with the world's best physicians in terms of radiology. And we're really excited to be showing the product from a CE mark standpoint. Obviously, FDA approval is coming.
Got it. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you sharing the Epion story. Let's plan on getting back on the schedule periodically so you can keep the viewers aware of the progress you're making.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you
Thanks
very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to speak with you today.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. This is Joe Mullings from 160 Studios. Be well.